Hi guys, welcome to another Chess UK video. This one's an analysis video. They tend to be nowadays. I've got some more event stuff coming up in the future, but just bear with, that'll happen in time. Today I'm talking about a good game I had in the Telford 4NCL Congress. I'm going to show you that quickly, the website where you should be going, because they are very smoothly run tournaments. This is the 4NCL website. It's www.4ncl.co.uk. Just type 4NCL into Google, it'll come up. Now they're awesome. They're basically the guys who run our national league, and I really enjoy the national league. As you know, I play for the Celtic Tigers. Tigers, we are the best. Well, kinda. In other news, we did qualify for the European Championships, but maybe through the back door. But you know what? Go through the back door and then you win it. So that's what's going to happen, I'm sure. But yes, they also do individual tournaments, and this is what I played in the weekend just gone. I played in this one in Telford, the 22nd for NCL. They've had some practice. I guess they're getting better and better. I haven't been to too many, but I'll continue to go to them. I mean, even Telford, it's a long way away for me. I'm in southeast London, but you make an effort because these tournaments are well run, and make a few new friends, which I did again. I travelled up with a couple of friends, Vincent and Luis, and also I met a local lad who's also a Celtic Tiger, Peter Kitchen, who hung out with us. So we all had a good time together after the chess, having a chat, letting off steam. We played some hand and brain in the pub after what was to be a really bad start for all of us, basically. I started 0 out of 3, which was a little bit demoralising, but I think I may have turned a corner, because I can't say I was like, before I'd just be angry and don't want to play the next day or anything like that, but this time I just didn't seem to get upset, and I was actually looking forward to every single game. And out of the 3 losses, probably was close on one of them, and the other 2 I just made little lazy moves and I got punished horribly. And that's what happens. I played a 190 ECF first round, a 195 second round, and in what was to be an easier rating as in 189, but he had the highest FIDE rating out of all 3 of them. He's 2140. So, it wasn't an easy tournament to lose, get a harder player, lose, get a harder player, and then lose and get a harder player. So, woke up on Sunday and thought, oh, okay, let's really fight hard again. Just keep going. My opponent obviously had a bad time too. He had lost 3 in a row, and you'd think it might be a little bit of a timid game, but that's not why I'm showing this game. It was quite bloodthirsty. So yeah, I'll get onto the game very shortly. But yeah, just more about the 4NCL website. You can check out. Obviously, you got pairings and entries as the tournament goes on, and I'll quickly show you what sort of level of open I was playing in. Oh no, I won't, because of my flash player is not working properly at the moment. But basically, there's a list there of all the top players. I think I was 5th from bottom seed out of 50 odd people. I had a big mountain to climb. They do put the games on there afterwards, so you can see if I'm lying or not about the games that I play. Plus other interesting games. There's a game by Keith Arkle, which I'm definitely going to be checking out once it gets uploaded. I think it was in round 4. Might be in round 3 actually, but it looked very gung-ho and un-Keith Arkle-like, so I need to see that one. So I'll get back to that. So yes, I recommend these tournaments, so please go along. Come say hi to me, obviously, and we'll no doubt end up in the bar at some point and have a beer. Unless you're underage, in which case you can have a Coke. So to the game. I've taken out the moves because I don't want any spoilers. I will introduce the computer in certain lines, just so obviously I thought about a lot of the moves as I went along. I was black, but I'm not a computer, and this was a really complicated opening. So I'll tell you what I was thinking, and then we'll have a look with the computer to say whether I was right or wrong, or seeing a ghost, which is almost definitely what will happen. But start off at e4, and I have a lot of responses to e4 at the moment, which is probably a bad thing. But if you do have a couple of openings that okay well, and you can play by mood. So if you feel like a fight, you can play what I played today. If you don't feel like a fight and you're a bit tired, you can play the Petrov. Or if you want a long strategic battle, you can play Caro-Kann. There's loads of different openings, and they fit people's mood, and I think that's why people select them. So it's a bit annoying though if you only got one choice of cutthroat chess and you're not feeling very cutthroat. But yeah, I was up for the fight. It was the first round on Sunday morning, so it was good to see my opponent wanted to as well. I mean, what happens here is I've offered the open Sicilian, and very, very often someone just ruins the party and just plays either bishop b5 check or c3, or just something that's quiet. You know, I mean, there's lots of little sidelines that aren't as fun as what actually happens in this game. And you know, he obviously wanted to play exciting chess too. So I don't seem to be able to get rid of this arrow. That's it, gone. So he played the open Sicilian, which is fantastic. I was applauding him in my head, but also thinking I might actually go 4-0 down very quickly. It's one of those, when you know you're going to get a sharp opening, you could literally be getting up in a board in 20 minutes. And I started to think, oh, maybe I should just play a little bit slowly here, just to prolong the game, just in case I'll be up. And we also had a little bit of a booby prize as well in this game, because the way the pairings were working and we were on the bottom board, is that there was very much going to be a buy situation, possibly for round 5, which, you know, you've got to look at the silver lining. Could have been a nice early trip home, which wouldn't have been the end of the world, because it's a long way, Telford. But, you know, if you turned up to play 5 games and you want to play 5 games, so the loser was likely to get a buy. Sorry, there's something going on with my laptop. I'm just trying to close a window that's just suddenly popped up. Right, it's gone. Yeah, so neither of us wanted to lose, because there was a high chance that we wouldn't get the 5th game. And no one wants to lose anyway. So I selected Najdorf, as you know, it's probably my favourite Sicilian. I've looked at the Shevnikov. It's something I've got in the backlock if I really, really want to play it. You know, influenced massively by Magnus Carlsen on that one. And including the Bishop B5 lines, the Rosalimo. I'm quite happy now to go into those lines, whereas before I was just really depressed when someone just played Bishop B5. But it's all good now. I mean, I think that's what you need to do. If there's an opening you don't particularly like, unfortunately, you're just going to have to do a tiny bit of work on it. Just, you know, find someone who plays that opening. I got lucky that the world champion just suddenly started playing against it in an interesting way. That I've now got a small repertoire to play. But the Najdorf has always been my be-all and end-all. And I don't care how many people say, and they always say this, oh, there's so much theory, there's so much theory. Well, to be funny enough, yeah, of course there is. There's loads of theory to this. But if you play it enough times, and I've learned it the hard way, I've lost thousands of games in this Najdorf. It's over thousands. And they've all been like rapid play games. They're not blitz. Obviously, you can add the blitz games on top, but I've played loads and loads of positions where I've been crushed many times. And it's why I play both sides of it, because white does crush black often, and it's good to take your ideas. So even if I'd got crushed today, it wouldn't have made any difference to me, because I would have thought, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to use that next time I come against the Najdorf. So I find it a constantly evolving ideas and battle. It's just, for me, it's the best opening there is. So e6, yep. Someone told me last night when I briefly talked to them that you can play knight bd7 here, because it's got a lot less theory. But again, I'm not scared of the theory. I don't see chess as 100% theory. I see chess as, okay, it has been mapped out, but I like to work it out in my own head regardless. I like to enjoy this stage of the game as much as I enjoy the middle and the end game. It's all working out. It's pretty logical, you know, and there's lots of little tricks and traps that, you know, if you spend the time to look at yourself, you may spring one on your opponent. You'll realise that there's something bad. You know, there's a loose bishop here. There's lines where you can just, well, you know, just stick your queen on a5 and this is pinned, and this is a problem too, you know. And then suddenly maybe you're picking up a bishop, and you only do that if you start thinking from the beginning of the game. I mean, that's never going to happen, but that's just a small example of why you should, even if it's all theory, don't just memorize it. Just have a think about why you're playing your moves. I mean, e6 is basically 2 reasons. One, you don't want to double your pawn so you can take back with a queen. And 2, you're covering d5. It's just have these little things in your head that, you know, you don't want a knight dropping in really quickly when you've been pinned already. Regardless of whether you can defend your knight or whatever, just don't give the options. And this is why, as I say, you should think about each move that you do. And to be honest, you won't lose your game so quickly because you would have had a bit of a think about it. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the Najdorf, but obviously this is ultra aggressive. You know, two pawns in the centre of the board coming to crush my king that's not castled, etc. He's opening up the position to bring his queen in behind these pawns, and you know, it's a pawn storm, and it is dangerous. I'm not going to lie. I've won and lost many games, as I said, in this position, but for some known reason I really like it. So you play bishop e7 here because if you play what you want to play, which is queen c7 to stop the bishop coming to c4, as well as white almost 100% castles queenside in this, you set up an attack as well. You don't really want to have these double pawns. It's strong. Don't get me wrong; these are solid pawns, but I think it gives you less options. So it's not worth doing. And Theory says it's slightly bad for black, but I think it's playable. But why? Why give yourself a handicap to start with? But I will come back to it in midway through this game as to sometimes it's worth making your opponent get a little bit annoyed, because I do it too. It's like a red rag. Sometimes someone will play a certain move and you'll be like, you can't play that move. So we'll come to that. So I'm just stopping that. As I say, I don't want the double pawns. I can bring my queen out next move. You know, there's no rush here. There's no threat of pushing yet. I'll just take it. There's no issues here. Or I can even come back probably and then swap everything off, and White's attack will dissipate really quickly, and then maybe the space in front of his king's a problem. So the queen comes in. As I say, it's going this way, and importantly, it's going this way too, because black's counter plays to play b5, and maybe the rook comes weak and on pre. So you know, good reason to push here, because maybe you're attacking this and the rook at the same time. It's just tricks in the position. Nothing to worry about yet though. So queen c7, as I say, you're setting up this. You're also defending the b7 square, so you can put a bishop on there if they do push. You can gain the tempi back by having the bishop attack the queen. So that's the reason. Lots of reasons behind queen 7. A multi-purpose move. Castle's kingside, putting pressure on d6. Can chuck all the rest of his pawns at me. You get the idea? Right, good. This is why it's fun to play. And you're thinking, well, why would black put himself through this? Well, because black gets his fun too, which we'll come to. So just developing. There's some cheapo trick, which I'll show you in a second coming up. Because you may come... This is an old line in the Najdorf, g5. I tend to play bishop d3 here. Oops. Whoa, I'm going to enter a tournament. I don't want to do that. Bishop d3, I prefer this. I think it's more flexible. You can save g4 for later. I think you've got a more dangerous game when you centralise your rooks. You might end up with a sacrifice on d5 or maybe even f5. So I prefer that setup for white. I think it's, funny enough, more aggressive than what my opponent played, even though this looks crazy aggressive. And it's funny because you just ignore it. It's like, yeah, okay, my king's not castled, so I don't care, do what you like. But here's the trick that I was telling you about. My opponent didn't play this line, but here's a beginner's trick of why the Najdorf's really dangerous straight away. And a natural move here, and the right move is knight takes, but you might get tempted by bishop takes, because you're like, well, I'm attacking this, you know, this can't be too bad, can it? You know, decent center attack. And actually, that's almost a losing move already, because you've undefended d6, which is just crazy, because then bishop b5 works. I'll give you a little bit of time to have a look at this. I wasn't intending this to be a Najdorf lesson, but may as well go for a little bit. Just to show you what a fighting opening it is, and why, you know, I respect my opponent for playing this, because, you know, he'd lost 3 games as well as I had. I should say he's 164 ECF and 1860 FIDE. And I think I gained points in this tournament eventually, which is amazing because I won my last 2 games. I win this game. I don't mind spoiling that, because I wouldn't be talking about it otherwise. You know me. I do show losses, but not in this sort of spirit. So bishop takes b5, and you're like, well, you're just giving up your bishop, no? But then, of course, you recapture, you get the bishop. I've just realised the compy bars here. I need to take that off probably, because it's giving away secrets. So let me take that off. But you can see white was crushing there. I mean, basically, here, this is just doomed. There's e5 coming. I'll play on a tiny bit. So say you play something like half natural looking. Let's do this, because you never know. Perhaps I'm trying something here, but then after knight takes, you're basically busted, and it's horrible. Like if you go here, well, first problem is you can't go here because you lose the bishop, so that means the sack's all over and you've actually lost a piece. So your king can't go there, and that means your king goes here. This rook's out the game, and I've actually won a game like this in a congress a long time ago. And funny enough, I've never lost to this, because I got lucky. The one time I took bishop f7, my opponent played g5 without thinking, because he thought he was playing theory, and I actually got away with the position. So lucky. I think that was my first draw against a 170 many moons ago. And this position, you have to just trust me that white is just crushing black. You don't have to trust me at all. Just put it on the board, you'll see. There's no attack here. This is a decent knight defending everything. And you're basically, as I say, you're leasing exchange up. And your attack's still coming. You're still attacking the king, even though you've lost a piece. You know, the pawns are still coming. The rooks can line up. Trust me, you'll easily find a way to keep the edge here. You just have to spend a little bit of time. So that's the first trap. But my opponent played something a bit odd here, and I've not seen this before. And of course, like I said earlier, you know, if my opponent comes up with a good idea, I'll bank it. I'm not sure about this one because it seems a bit like he's crossing systems. As I say, he should really be taking here. I take G5, knight back. And then you go for a pawn sack line. You can't really take this pawn because if you take it... Oh, great. With check as well. King moves. I don't know. Let's do a normal move. Maybe knight here. That looks aggressive. You know, I'm gaining time on the queen. I'm defending f7. But your position suddenly becomes really loose. This bishop is a big pain. And there's a lot of pressure coming here. This pawn is pinned. So, you know... Basically, it's not a free pawn. You're in big trouble as black if you take that pawn, even though you take it with check. And of course, you've also opened up the line as well for the rook. So it just shows you how sharp it is. And I've lost all these ideas, and that's how I know about these. And probably the best way to learn, in my eyes. I mean, okay, it's nice to have it all theoretical in your head, but you don't really understand why you're lost until you've gone through it yourself. But this didn't happen. As I say, I think he crossed systems here, which made me have a little bit of a think about things. Bishop b7 is absolutely fine and probably the best move. I did get a little bit carried away with an idea. I still equalise anyway with the move I play. But this is very natural. You know, you're pinning this pawn. The queen will probably have to move. You've gained a tempi basically, because in the other line I was talking about, after bishop takes instead of bishop d3. It's forcing, knight takes, pawn down, knight back. So, you know, that's all forcing. But here, he hasn't taken yet. And I've managed to get my bishop out to b7. But I come up with another idea because at the 4NCL for the Tigers, one of my opponents played this move against me. Not exactly this position, but the idea being, if the bishop drops back, say he doesn't want to swap the bishop, I can play g5. And you're like, what the heck is going on here? You know, you just take it, yeah? And now he's attacking my knight. But you got lots of little tempi in between moves. I'm attacking the queen, so the queen will move. I don't know where the queen's going to go. Let's say e2 is probably about right. And now I can either take this pawn or this pawn. Well, I can take this pawn after that pawn. Can I do that? Is that a real thing? I'm just seeing. Oh, it's pinned, so I can just take this one. Because he can't take here, because I'll just take the bishop. And suddenly, black's coming out. This is actually quite an interesting position. I've always got knight takes and knight back here. I was just seeing if my knight was getting trapped in any line with h3. But yeah, and this is an interesting position that I quite happily play as black, because basically white's main attack in this is to attack down the king side, and all I'm going to then do is play bishop b7 and castle, and I'm probably okay. I've only one weakness of f7, and this knight will always look after that. It's a really, really good knight and hard to shift. To start playing stuff like knight back, and I've had other games in this and it's fun, and I would have happily gone down this line, but instead he just took. And the other justification of h6 was, well, I was thinking, well, after the takes or whatever, I do have quite good control of g5 with the h6 pawn helping me out. You know, there is a check here. He should really be moving his king at some point, which will give me another tempi, and hopefully it'll be good. But in this position, I'm pretty much equal, which is good. I'm black, and it's not many moves into the game, and I'm equal. Okay, there's different types of equal, because obviously certain players just do not like this, and it used to be me as well. I used to be terrified of this kind of thing. But then when you've looked at enough games with computers and how often it is that I have these free pawns and I don't win the game, you start believing in black a lot more. So yeah, I'm not even slightly worried about the initial push, because what that'll do is after I swap, I'll show you anyway. I'll just put it on the board. After all this swapping this, I now have an open rook file and a target. Though to be fair, wouldn't have been an absolutely terrible idea, because I think I briefly looked at this. What was I going to do if he played g3, g6? That looks a little bit scary, actually. Oh, okay, I've got an in-between. Have I, though? I'm thinking, I thought I had an in-between move, but maybe I don't. Maybe he can just go here. So hang on a minute. Is there something else? No, I kind of have to do this, right? Is this forced? Because if it is, then this was a good chance for my opponent and would possibly make e6 bad, right? So I did say I would jump in and out of computers and wonder what was going on. So I shall do that now. We'll go to... Whoops, no, not that one. See, it just shows you I don't know that much about Lee chess. Let's do best arrow. Okay, so it's not this move, but let's see why. So takes, knight back. Why is this not winning? Ah, because I've got to check first. King moves, and then knight there. Well, no, I don't think this makes a big difference, does it? Why can't he just take here? Oh, queen takes. Okay, yeah, actually, funny enough, yeah, if the queens come off, I'm fine. Let's see what the gauge does. Yeah, look, I'm even slightly better here. It's a weird thing about Sicilians and central pawns. If you can maintain these two pawns, you're just generally better, as long as you're not, you know, I've got loads of defense on e6, so king takes, yeah, like it's just getting better and better for black. This is like plus 1.4 or something. Bishop pair, open board, safe king. I know it seems stupid, but that king is safe. He can always dart in here. Open lines for the rook. Yeah, so this is just good for black. So that's cool. That was my initial fear, that he was going to play this line. And I'd back myself, I'd find some of that. I'm not sure I'd find it all. But a lot of it is pretty forcing, otherwise I'm just dead, right? So what happened here? Yeah, I took, but he waited. So let's turn off some things. Gauge is going off. He's still got a slight edge here. Taking the gauge off. Best move off. Yeah, that would have been a good move. Just keep attacking. But I would have just brought the knight back anyway. Played bishop d7 and castled kingside, queenside, and not really cared about it. So instead, he tried a new idea, another new idea. So we've got two new ideas that I've not really seen before. And rook f1, which is very blatantly looking at f7. Because now if you push this pawn, when the knight vacates the area, unfortunately, the king is going to invade quite nastily. So this is now a real threat. So I sidestepped and went, nope. Now if he pushes, I can just simply gain time on his queen. So queen somewhere. Let's go here because there's a useful little takes, and then he can just take my queen. Which dawned on me in a later line. You'll be like, I'll come back to when it dawned on me that this queen was actually a little bit weak. And I'm probably fine here. I don't know if I'm going to check or not. Probably will, because it gets the bishop out. The only downside, if I ever take this bishop out, is maybe I'm walking into this. So what would we play here? This would be interesting. Well, this is on pre as well. Maybe I can start sneaking my queen in. What's like a little bit more concrete than this? What have we got, computer? Help me out. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to sound like, oh yeah, well, I've seen the computer say it, but this is basically a big move in the Najdorf. If you can ever get b4 in, which is why lots of people play a3, this knight becomes really awkward. And I got decent chances here. Let's have a look at the gauge. Look at that, I'm +1. It's so funny, isn't it? Like I've just said about this big attack and it's all scary and everything. Black's just better. It's crazy. I've got to say, the Najdorf is so rich. This misplaces the queen probably. Yep. And now the knight doesn't have this square. And I was looking at this move in another line, so I'll come to that in a minute. Or we'll show it now. It just takes. And yes, okay, the knight gets a good square, and it instantly goes. This is why I left my bishop on c8 forever, just to keep looking after these two squares. And I'll basically a pawn up here. Look, I can even castle. Beautiful. Again, I'm not a grandmaster. I'm not saying I would find all that, but there's high chances I will. I'll definitely find b4 because that happens in the game. So let's go back. So I wasn't initially worried about f5 after I brought my knight back. So he played this queen move, and again, like I just said, this is very similar to what happens in the game. I hit him with b4 now because it's my only chance. I think it's my chance to do it. In fact, I think he could have stopped it with this, or maybe just moved the king. Lots of little moves that may have helped. But I did start thinking I was getting better here because d5 is no longer a big weakness. Remember what I was saying about this, which means that at some point I should be able to play e5. I've just got to make sure the f square is blocked, which is again why I wasn't too terrified about the f pawn getting here, because that means this knight couldn't get to a good square too. This knight always wants to live on d5, and this knight always wants to live on f5. These are just rules. They just attack in so many good squares in your position. And that's what white's trying to do, and black's trying to do the opposite. It's trying to stop those two knights. So that's what happened. Now I improve a piece, and also I'm defending e6. e6 is so huge in the Najdorf, and probably most Sicilians that are like this, probably Scheveningen. Just look after e6 and you'll be fine. You know, I'm really looking after it. It's my vital square, so I'm after it. I'm also giving myself the option to trade off the bishop, to give myself the bishop pair for potentially if the board gets open later on. So starting to feel good again. You know, initially I was like, oh, there's a lot of little possible attacks coming to f5, but I'm not worried about it yet. So he played e5. And now this was a good move. First of all, I was like, what's this? I wasn't expecting this move, and maybe I should have been. Usually you only really worry about e5 when there's a queen on f3, because potentially he's attacking your rook, which is why you always have your queen on c7, just so you can put bishop b7. So regardless if there is a piece there being attacked, you're attacking a higher piece. If he ever takes here, then that's good for you, because you take away the bishop, and then you've got a nice strong diagonal, which is what, you know, at the moment I have no fear, because if he takes, I take. Whoops. If he takes, you know, had he had an extra move, he takes, I take, I'm actually better, because I think this pawn can't move and the queen's misplaced. And the position is still fairly blocked. I mean, I still just bishop b7 castle queenside. You've always got bishop b7 castle queenside. And sometimes you want to play bishop d7, and that's part of the problem with a Najdorf player, is which way to go with the bishop. But if the bishop goes on b7, it just generally has a very nice diagonal. I mean, there's nothing on it at the moment, which is one of the advantages of playing rook f1 early doors. But it does still have a slight problem, this rook, which I'll come to in a minute. So I was like, what's he doing? Okay, so I was thinking through some ideas here. I could just push. You're supposed to play d5, aren't you, on the Sicilian? And I was like, well, why do I even need to do that? Can't I just take it? Because I'm attacking the knight. And then it dawned on me, and this is where I realised the queen was on pre. So say I take it, and I'm all happy. Yay! I'm attacking his knight. His knight's going to have to move. Or he recaptures, and, you know, big deal. Okay, he's got an attack against the f-pawn, but if the bishop ever moves, the queen defends there. You know, there's ways. I could even castle. I mean, we could go crazy and castle. But the point is, I'll be okay. But that's not the point. If I take, he plays this. And I was happy that I spotted this, because I wasn't on good form. Remember, I've just lost 3 games. But I'm always fearful in the Najdorf. I'm always waiting for white to destroy me. And the point is this. I can't take, because the queen's hanging. So, whoops. So that leads me to, like, well, how do I actually deal with this? You know, my king is not castled. The rook is well placed. The knight is still dangerous, because I can't take it. Yes, I'm defending left, right, and centre, but how do I actually deal with this? This is actually quite scary. Let's have a think about it. What can I do? I've either got to defend the queen so I can take his knight. But whatever happens, he's just taking here. And I don't think I can stop it. If I take myself, he's got a plethora of choices. But, I mean, pawn takes to open the queen, or bishop takes just to get rid of the swapping off of the bishops. He's got lots of decent chances here, and I just feel like I'm exposed. You know, rook's coming over. Lots of moves where black could just be terrified. Should rightly be terrified here. The only plus side is that he doesn't have a dark square bishop to sacrifice. Otherwise, it's just GG. You know, I mean, he's still got this easy attack. So I avoided all this because I was like, now I understand why that's so good. And I did take. So hang on a second. Hang on. What was my other thing? No, that was it. No, sorry. See, this is the problem when you're not analysing. You haven't done any pre-work on this. This is the best move, and this is not as scary. No, this was the move I wanted. I thought he'd play anyway. I have to take this pawn, but I'll come back to it in a second. It's even worse. Say I play bishop b7 here. I briefly showed a strong friend. He just said, "Oh, bishop b7," but this is even stronger now. F5 is just a wrecking ball with all the same threats, but I don't have the. I'm now a move down on taking here. I mean, if I take here now, he's even quicker coming in, and the bishop's no longer defending e6, so it'd just be curtains. Just bleh, getting caned. So yeah, actually, so let's see what happens here. I mean, I guess. Maybe I do have... Oh, no, because obviously I haven't got bishop on b7. Hang on. I do defend it. So after taking here, had he pushed, which was my little bit of a fear. Can I just go bishop here? Help me out, computer. Because I'm really not sure what I would have played. Oh, wow. I'm big plus here. Wow. Wow. +3. So there's a piece dropping somehow. How are we going to win that piece? Show me, all powerful computer. Castles, yeah, okay. Castles. Allow the take. Bishop here. Wow, you just allow all this. Wow. I mean, that's the Najdorf for you. Oh, yes. This trick is in so much of the position. It's great. Because later on, it looks like he can sack his rook. But I've always got this check, which luckily, skillfully, picks up the rook. Because obviously your pawn takes. King move. Oh, it doesn't even want to go this way. Wow. But yeah, this is just good for black. I mean, it's at least a pawn. And more. Much more. Attack as well. Rook's coming over. Yeah, in fact, he wants to sack the rook by playing h4. So yeah, totally crazy game. So my opponent's judgment was better than mine there, because I was a little bit fearful of that. Oops. And this downside of Najdorf is that you're going to face an attack, and you just got to stay calm, which is why I thought the best move. Well, I just can't allow this f5. So the only way to even slightly stop that is to take this pawn. And my friends were like, "Well, what are you doing? Because you're opening up the f file." Well, as I just said, if he ever does take here, I've always got this check, which is just a saving grace. He needs to move this king. And it's hard to do, but I do it now regardless as white, because there's so many little tricks that happen. You don't want to do it because you feel like you're wasting a 10p when you're attacking, but you just need to. You need to take a timeout in literally every single line of Sicilian and just move that king to b1. It's ridiculous. So here I can play bishop b7 because there's no f-pawn attacking the e-pawn. I've got like grandiose ideas of cross-checking and you know, the knight possibly coming in, and if the king were to be here, then maybe there's a check here, and you know, the bishop's doing a good job. So yeah, okay, yes, he's got an open f-file, but as I've just said, he's not in trouble yet. Can't worry about everything in life. So he gets on with the attack again. Fair play to him. He's very one-dimensional. He just keeps coming for me. I get rid of this very dangerous attacking piece, leaving myself with the bishop pair. And also, importantly, give myself a square for the dark square bishop. Just an extra square, because it doesn't actually have many places to go at the moment. H4 just stops me at ever coming to G5 with the check. But yeah, this bishop can be menacing, so now's the time to get rid of it, I feel. Oh, and that's the other fun of it, taking it, is that he can't take with the queen, because funny enough, his pawns are weak. So we just nab that one in the middle. Thank you very much. Please come again. So check, rook takes, and here I could have been really superficial and gone here. But he would just go here, gaining time on the bishop, and I thought, oh, bishop can stay here. Nice attack against c2, but this knight can't be moved. Even if I take it, just get replaced by another knight. So it's a very superficial attacking idea. And now his rook can come here, because on this diagonal, not only are we stopping the rook coming here, we're also stopping the rook coming here. So this was just a bad plan that I looked at and disregarded, and came up with just rook c8, because now potentially, if he goes here, now I can take the pawn, because I have 3 pieces attacking. So it's just a prep move, and if he ever moves away, it gets mated, which is, you know, always have mate on 1 on the board. It worries your opponent. they might have a very short circuit and think, oh, well, look, I can maybe not knight f3, but maybe sacrifice on e6 in a line and just get mated in one because there's no check. You'll be amazed. This stuff happens. So he defends, which is, you know, decent enough. The rook's not... I know you're thinking maybe it's passive, but the rook can get over to h2 at some point if this knight gets out of the way. So again, a defense and attack move. He's just got to be a little bit careful if the bishop ever comes in, because it's a skewer. I'm sure he knew that. And funny enough, if he ever moves his king over, I might start having queen a5 and pawn up maneuvers. I mean, at the moment, he'll just take with the knight and defend the rook. But things are starting to become loose. So, still liking my position quite a lot. I mean, admittedly, my king's not ultimately safe, but it's not being attacked to death yet either. I was more scared earlier. And I played bishop d5 to defend e6. Simply that. I'm not attacking this pawn. I don't care about that pawn. Because if I ever take it, the bishop might even be trapped. I'm not 100% sure if it is or not, but I don't need to risk it. And it's a pawn that's not really doing anything. So yeah, so I'm not really attacking that pawn. But I wouldn't mind if his king walked over, because then perhaps I'm threatening that with check this time, so the knight back's not so good. So yeah, and then I'd have potentially the attack on the rook that I mentioned earlier. So he gets on with the attack. It's still a little bit scary. If he ever gets to g6, then potentially I'm in trouble again. It's part of the reason why I eliminated this dark square bishop. Sorry, light square bishop. In a lot of the lines earlier, there was a bishop, after some swaps on e6, there was bishop g3. I don't know if I can show a quick line of that. Or maybe should have. Yeah, so if I didn't take and play bishop d7, as I say, this happens. And then someone was saying castle, was it castle here? I think so. Castle here. But yeah, this is just... No, it was when my king was still on e8, so that must have been something else. What else would I have played though? Like I say, the danger is this take and bishop coming in check, and it's just nasty, and didn't happen, which is good. I was lost. So yeah. So the bishop here was literally just to defend this, and this is obviously just to get on with the attack. I'd love to take, and as I say, the skewer, but the queen's in a good place, so keep an eye on the queen if the queen ever moves. Maybe. Which gives me a very nice open rook file, and just again, terrified of this move. So how do we stop that move? We'll play it ourselves. And say that these two pawns are potentially a weakness at some point. They're under attack. You know, at some point maybe I can get something here or here. This was the original idea, was to bring the rook up to h5 just to win this, but he stops that. He plays... yep, that would do me over. And to be honest, I almost played a really superficial move here. I need to defend that pawn, but I don't have to defend that pawn. I could have just gone here. And you're like, what? Lining up rook and kings, and you know, so there's, you know, potential of this. The bishop's no longer defending here, and he just takes here, but he loses his queen if he does that, because the queen unfortunately is pinned against the rook. Oh, it's at least a rook. Okay, so like if he takes here, I take the rook, and okay, I'll be under some pressure, but it's a whole rook. I'll take that, and if we do the evaluation gauge, you gonna work? You gonna work? No, we're not working. Oh, there we go. Oh, it was so dark I didn't see it, maybe. But look, I'm like plus, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 3.5, and it's still creeping up. So it's probably more. It's probably 7 or 8. This bar doesn't actually tell you how good it is, but if it's that far up, it's usually about 5 or 6. So it's just a free piece, so he can't take. But it's superficial because he's got better moves. If I move my king there, yep. I'm okay actually. I think I feared more than what was happening here. my big fear wasn't knight there. I think I was actually really concerned about knight sacrificing on e6. Perhaps it's just rubbish, but it doesn't feel right to stick my king in the middle of the board. But if it's safe, it's safe. I mean, like I say, this was the main weakness and he can't take it. And then I'll possibly follow up this rook here again and bishop here. But you have to be so cold for that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a robot. Yeah, you kind of have to be ice cold to play the Najdorf. You need the aggression in your blood to counterattack, but you do need to be ice cold when it comes to defending. And I found other ways to defend. I mean, the computer's showing the arrow there, which is the best way to defend. Simply rook here, defends this, and keeps the file. And the reason I didn't play this move, of course I saw it, because there's only a few ways you can defend. Like I say, king here, rook here, bishop move somewhere, because the queen would then defend f7. But then the bishop's blocking your attack on the c-pawn, and as I've said before, if I take, he just replaces it. And worse than that, I'd give up all my dark squares around my king, which would just be scary. So the bishop's well placed on e7, don't really want to move it. And the reason I didn't play that is because I thought I had a better move, and I thought, well, if I play my rook there, it's never getting to h5 because it's stuck defending this f-pawn. But it's just okay where it is. Remember I was saying that there's no fear of this rook ever coming back, because that's the whole fun of this light square bishop. It's just always defending this diagonal. The one to worry about is this rook, because it's on a dark square. It's not easy for him to get that rook around, because I have to move his knight away, which could be good or bad for me. I'll show you later. So that would have been good, but instead I chose the third option, which is also okay. But my opponent, and this is what I was saying earlier about the red rag, if someone does this to you, castles into a position where you're being attacked, you can't help but think, I'm going to crush you. He's actually shaking his head here, going, what? My two friends who'd finished their game walked by and were like, what? yeah. But I think it's fine. It is fine. It's not as good as rook h7, but it's the same idea. My king's going to come up to, so for instance, oh, I'm just attacking you, oh, king up then. And he suddenly, he can't do it anyway, but say he could put his rook here. I'd always have rook here. And that'd end the attack straight away. Queen would have to come back. And it's the same idea. You're still occupying the h-file of the rook. And it takes the same number of moves to do this as well. Because I still want to get my king fairly safe. So if I play rook h7, I'll probably still walk my king over to g7 anyway. But I'd have an extra option of still sitting here. It's just as, for me, although I don't ever fear c5, that's why b4 is so good. I just didn't feel my king was safe, and maybe it was something to think about in the future. Well, my king's also safe on g7. So my opponent played knight back, because remember what I was saying, the other rook's the one. She's the one. And in checkmate, you know, somehow the bishop moves to try and take out the knight. I don't know. Queen here, and then there's a mate, but that's just not going to happen, because I'm not going to allow it. So king up, obviously I'm ready for this rook over move. Rook over. Can't do it straight away. Obviously, say I play something stupid. This is a really... Oh, here's white to move. Say he goes here. I can't obviously do this straight away because death. That's not good. But I don't have to move the rook until the queen moves. You know, the rook's not doing anything without the queen. As soon as the queen moves, I'd have to worry about f7, and then I can come over. And that's what I had in my head, and which is why I wasn't scared as the viewers were as they were walking by. That's why I was not panicking. So yeah, rook on h2. As I say, he's still defending c2, and now he's launching another attack. Oh, so many attacks. The other good news is if the queen moves and I can stop all that, perhaps I'm picking this pawn up. It's a weak pawn. It's always attacked. Nothing defending it. But I finally find a good move. Right, I'm like, now it's my turn. I'm going to attack your pawn and take it with no check. But that's not the threat. The threat is simply, if he brings his queen over to mate me, I'll just take his rook. That's unlucky. But he doesn't do that, which is a shame. The other idea that I've moved here is I am going to take this pawn. I will, because the queen's really dangerous here. But we'll come to that in a second. The other thing was, maybe he wants to keep defending this knight or something like this. So like he's never. Oh, that was it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So he'd like to double up his rooks too. I mean that would win as well. But again, exactly the same trick. If he ever tries to do that to bring the rook over, well, just take the rook. So queen c5 was a nice spot. And I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for my king to be safe enough to play this move. I've been like storing it going, oh, if I could just get my queen there, it'd be great. And I'll finally do. So what does white do? Like I said, there's no obvious moves. You can't bring your queen over because the rooks drop in. So he goes back to attacking the f-file, which is still fairly dangerous, you know. The point being, if the queen can drop in with check, and I try to stop it, I can never stop it with the rook because he'll just take f7 and win the bishop as well. So I don't have the ability to stop this. But luckily, skillfully, whichever way you want to look at it, I now get my attack. Finally, I get my attack. He's had all his fun on his f-file. Now my turn. And someone said, when I showed them again, I don't want to drop names, Mr. Dodgy said that I was just, why am I not getting mated here? And he also asked me, did I calculate this out to the end? And the answer to that is, kinda. And the reason I say kinda is because all my moves are forced from here. I'm either getting checkmated or I checkmate him. So we start with a check. King moves. Oh, I've run out of checks, but this is fun. So his first move he'd like to play potentially is queen check, king here. I think this is what happens actually, fun enough. And then just rook here. And then I'm mated. But I'm not, because the point is the first thing is I take his knight with check. The queen's no longer defending the knight. I'm now on the front foot. I've got checks everywhere, including rook c2 check, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of ways for me to kill this king. I've got 2 bishops. So the point being, when I got to this point, I could see that I'm not getting mated in 2 moves. And that always means that I'm going to get my checks in first. And I will not calculate it out to the end like a good player would. I would just know that I've got 2 bishops, an open c-file and a queen next to his king. And that's good enough for me. I don't need to calculate. And I think this is where, you know, people mistake me for a good player. Because they're like, oh, how did you get through all that? And I'm like, well, chess is very fair in most games. I mean, sometimes it's just not fair. But most games it is fair. And if you've got an attacking majority, okay, you may have to do some working out as you're going along. But it's like solving a puzzle. You don't need to do it to the end. You just need to find the first few moves to get it right. So I backed myself, basically, in this position. He did play check. And I was like, okay, fine. I don't have a choice there. I have to move my king. And as I said, this doesn't work because we've just got the check on the knight straight away. And I'm sure this is winning. The king's just too bare. So he didn't do that. He did knight back, defending the knight. Fair enough. If he defends that knight, look, his king's almost safe. But Barry comes in. There's even quicker way. I can actually... It's almost the same combination. There's like literally no difference here in computer analysis. It's either +11 or +9. This wins 2 with the idea of takes bishop here. And I just thought, okay, well maybe this is complicated. Maybe it's not working. So I did it in a different move order, but I did Barry first. And it's literally the same thing. This pawn is pinned. It can't move. There's no mate. So the next move is going to be rook takes c2 check. He sets the mate up though. I mean, this is has a choice. They're both good checkmates. But unfortunately, or fortunately, boom! Exchange sack. This is the easiest exchange sack you'll ever play in your life because you're going to get mated otherwise. Knight takes, forced. Queen takes check. King runs. But now you see the power of the bishops on an open board. And a queen. Queen and 2 bishops are just a massively good attacking unit. Where does he go? He can't come back. Obviously the bishop's controlling this square. Runs into the corner. What was I saying about this bishop the whole time? He's just got no safety. Check. Because obviously now I don't have to defend this square. So he's going to have to block with something. So I'm getting at least an exchange. This one or that one wouldn't have made too much difference. The point being there's no mate anymore. So that's it. The mate's gone. So it's pretty much GG. It's a lovely move here that I nearly played, but I wasn't sure what to play after this move. I mean, look at this. This is This threatening mate here is beautiful because obviously the pin. But I was like, oh yeah, but I should say all of this ending from like the last 7 or 8 moves were both under 5 minutes, and him even less. I think he may have been under a minute. But you don't want to mess up the attack when you get to this point. I mean, it's still an easy win, but there's no mate, and that's. I was looking for a quick mate, or if not a quick mate, then win material. But it's quite cold to do this. But it's a great move. You win a piece, you're still winning the exchange. There's still no checkmate on your king, but that's a computer move, like with or your move if you've got loads of time. And a move I considered, but I didn't see it just picking up the knight. I thought it was threatening mate, and I was just like, oh yeah, but that stops it. So I played a move that was only plus 22, which is this check, and he resigned. Basically, everything's going here. Can't block with a rook, so I had to move the king. Bishop takes. I mean, there's lots of ways to win this, but just simply pawn up. I'm going to get a queen. Like, the only way to stop that is to bring your knight back, and I fork 2 pieces, rook and knight, or a queen. And the whole point is, where his king is, there's no more rook swinging back to mate me. The queen's out of the game, really, there. And there's still mating threats from me. This rook can actually, I've got to be a little bit careful, but it can swing out and do mating threats too. So it's just over. My opponent resigned. And he got the bye, so he had to go home, which is probably, I don't know, if I'd lost 4 games, I'd probably lose 5 games, so it might have been a good thing for him. But yeah, so I won that game, and that gave me loads of confidence, because that was a nice, sharp game. I didn't play too well in the 3 games before, and this come from a bolt from the blue. I really like castling, even if it wasn't the best move, just because the psychological effect it had on my opponent. And finished off with a plus rating performance. I did a 173 ECF, and gained 15 or 14 rating points. FIDE. So that was all good. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that game. It was quite, I didn't, as always in chess, especially complicated games, I didn't see everything, and there was definitely some ghosts in there. But I think a fun game, so I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be doing another video later on. I still owe a Celtic Tiger chess video from the last weekend, where my games weren't great, but a couple of games next to me were, so I need to do those. But I hope you enjoyed that, and please like, and I'll be back soon. Bye for now.